You must cover the basics first because I think that will also protect you, and it will be harder for you to invest with confidence or take on more risk also if you're using money that you will actually use. And this ties into a lot of things that I've mentioned, that you only invest an amount of money that you're okay to go to zero, that you're willing to lose, that you don't plan to touch for the long term. Video, I want to talk about the top things you need to consider before you start investing. So that I'm a very big advocate on investing, that I really believe that people need to start investing early. The earlier they invest, the better. But if you're watching this and you're just about to begin your journey into investing and want to actually try it out, before you invest, here are the things that you need to consider. These things are very foundational, because it's better to start your foundation right. Because if you build your foundation properly, when times are bad, when times are not so optimistic, when no one wants to invest, because you built your house right, you will stand. And you have to remember this, that the goal is not just to be profitable over the short term, but the goal is to do this repeatedly over the long term. Number one is this: if you are in debt, I highly suggest that you pay off those debts first. And when I say that, I want to qualify it also that those should be credit card debt, personal loans, especially the ones that are of very large interest. That if you don't pay them, you will be hit over and over for the long term by very large interest payments. And that when you start investing, especially on asset classes that are not fixed in terms of how you could actually earn, that have volatility, you don't know how the stock market will perform in the next 5 years or 10 years or even in the next 3 or 6 months. However, your interest rate payments will be there. If you don't pay that, you'll keep on losing money. So better pay that off first, so that you'll have the confidence also to start investing. You'll have the confidence also that when things are bad, you'll be okay. Why would you be okay? Because you know you're just investing money that is on top of what you need. But if you are in debt, you will be paying off debt, you will be paying off interest, you will be losing money on that regular basis unless that debt is paid for. So I've seen a lot of investments not do well, and I've seen people who are in debt get into bigger problems also because they did not pay off their debts first and the investments dropped, and now they don't have any money in their investments and they're still paying off debt. So before you do anything, before you get into any investments, pay off those debts first. The second thing that I think is also relevant is you need to decide from the level of cash flow that you have, considering also your needs, considering your wants, and also considering the amount of money that you put into savings. Whatever's excess of that, that's what you start putting into investing. You have some needs that you need to fulfill, you have some bills that you actually need to pay, and you also need to build up your savings as well. So always realize that investing should be a surplus. It doesn't make sense investing if you can't pay your housing bills, if you can't pay your electricity, if you can't pay your water, if you can't pay for your transportation, if you're not protected medically also. You must cover the basics first because I think that will also protect you, and it will be harder for you to invest with confidence or take on more risk also if you're using money that you will actually use. And this ties into a lot of things that I've mentioned, that you only invest an amount of money that you're okay to go to zero, that you're willing to lose, that you don't plan to touch for the long term. It's something that should be intentional and separate and not part of your regular budget, and that's something you can start to allocate around for that. Guys, it's so steep here. It's very steep to walk here, but that's my second tip. Number one is you have to pay off all of your debts first, debts that are connected to liabilities. Number two is what you allot for investing should be something that's intentional, should be something that's on top of what you spend on to be able to live normally. Third and last is you need to create financial goals, and those goals will help determine how your investments will go, because that's how you will allot where your investments will be. I mentioned this in previous videos, but it has to be either short-term, less than a year, and what you put for short-term investments that are for less than a year to only be low-risk type investment because it's less than a year. It's something that you may need right away. And the merit of creating short-term goals is that you fund short-term goals first, because you need it. You can't take a lot of risk, because if you put it in an investment that gives you a larger amount of risk, by the time you need the money, which is very, very near, what if it drops? What if there's volatility? That's why you always have to remember, for a short-term goal that's less than a year, you need to put in more. You need to take lesser risk. The lesser risk as possible, the better, so that when you need it, it's there. But above and beyond that, you need to put in more for that. So it's not just about what investment you put it in. It's important also on what goal is it trying to hit and how you're allotting the money in the basis of your financial goal as well. We don't have a somewhere yet.
The software is still up for question.
Second is you need to have a midterm goal that could be about a year to 5 years time. It's not as close to you needing the money right away, but also it's something that is far off that you could take a bit of risk. So anything that's above a year, you could take more risk. But since it's also a bit far off, you have to place a lesser amount of money as compared to your short-term goals. And lastly, you could segment it also to a long-term goal, which could be about 5 years or more. For some, it's 10 years or more also. And what that actually means and entails also is that you could take as much risk as possible for those types of investment. And the thing about that for long-term goals is that place a smaller amount of money, even if you're placing a smaller amount of money in it. What's nice about that is it could possibly give you a larger amount of gain because you're gonna continually accumulate and stack it over a long period of time, and you can take in more risk. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. And what's nice about that is even if you're taking a larger amount of risk on that particular investment, should it go to zero, should it be more volatile, should it be harder also to get a return over the short term, the main narrative of it is you are holding on to it for the long term. Think about the stock market, it could give you a larger amount of return. So that's how I think you can segment your investments when you're starting out. Very, very important to not be in debt when you are investing, especially for the first time. Very, very important also to help segment your budget, the cash that you have, that you are only putting an amount that you're willing to lose. It's okay to go to zero, it's okay to drop, and you are safe, and it won't disrupt your lifestyle should there be any problems with that investment. And lastly, at least for this particular video, it's very important to segment your investments based on your goals, short, mid, and long term. Invest first on a goal before you decide on what investment you're supposed to buy or place your money in. So it's very, very important that your investments, the assets that you build, should be based on the goals that you want to hit, because we all have different goals, we all have different targets, we all have different milestones that we want to hit, and that's why we don't base our investments purely on the return. We base investments on how you want to hit your goals, short, mid, and long term. So I hope you guys got a lot from this, and I hope that this was something that was useful and helpful for all of you. Stay up until the end, like, share, subscribe, and smash the bell so you get updated every time I come up with new content about investing. So I guess that's it for now. See you all in the next video.